Hello and a happy new year to you all, dearest listener. I'm so happy that you are here today because this is going to be a special edition. It's all about dreaming big, creating an amazing and a best ever new year 2026. I couldn't be more excited to have this special edition with Kristina Karlsson from Your Dream Life. Kristina was the founder of kikki.K, a worldwide global stationery and beautiful design shop. And then she ventured into creating Your Dream Life. And she is on a big mission to touch million of people around the world to dream big. And if there is anyone who can do this, it's her, believe me. So how do I know Kristina? I joined Kristina's book club back in October 2021, and soon after that, I signed up for her online digital course. And then I couldn't resist to join her group coaching, the Platinum Group Coaching. And since then, I've been part of that. Kristina really transformed my life. The way how I started to focus better, gain better clarity, started to dream really big, and started to do things that I would have never thought of doing. And it really instilled a completely different energy in me that I had not experienced in such a transformative way. And thanks to the community that she created, and we are still there, all the dreamers around the world, and sharing same mindset and sharing our dreams, sharing our hopes, but also our fears, and also sharing when the road is a bit bumpy and rocky and when it doesn't go according to our plans, and just creating this safe place for us to share and grow. This has been such an amazing journey, and I couldn't have wished for a more impactful or a more beautiful soul to be here with me on the 1st of January. I can promise you already that this will be a conversation of beautiful energy, of like-minded people, of just like getting into this beautiful flow with each other. So there will be plenty of golden nuggets for you. And this episode is particularly also dedicated to our group of dreamers. Without you, without your support, without your incredible minds and hearts, I wouldn't have come all the way to this point, and I would have not been sitting here with Kristina and recording a podcast today. So my gratitude goes to Kristina, first of all, but also to our community of beautiful dreamers. Thank you all. So I invite you to take a glass of your favorite tea, coffee, whatever it might be, a juice, a smoothie, and go for a beautiful walk or sit and relax and just enjoy. A very warm welcome to this podcast today, Kristina Karlsson from Your Dream Life. I couldn't be more honored and more grateful to have you here today.
Oh, thank you, Tanya. I am honored to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited about diving into a new, fresh year together.
Yeah, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. I love a new year. There's just nothing better.
Yeah. So we'll talk about all the new year today because I thought like you are the perfect person to talk about the new year, the new dreams and everything. But before we do that, Christina, I was wondering, what's your go-to morning ritual that you love doing when you wake up in the morning? Can you share
Oh,
that with us?
sure can. as you probably know, I love my morning so much. I love my morning so much that I actually cannot wait to go to bed so I can get up. I feel like the morning is like it's like a new year. It's a new fresh start. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. You can start again, and it's just such a beautiful part of the day. And the key, I think, before I share mine, is for anyone listening, is to really find what they can't wait to wake up to in terms of create something that is exciting, not something they have to do, like a gym session that they might not like. It's more about doing something you love, and then you can add some disciplines along with that if people choose to. But mine is ideal, not every day, not always perfect. Like I'm human like everyone else, so sometimes I don't, but most mornings I like to get up really early, and I like to start without even get out of bed to think about three things I'm grateful for. And this is something I don't just think about. I don't actually write it down. I do all that at night, but I do think about three things I'm grateful for, because often we wake up feeling a little bit anxious about the day, or we might have a full day. So I like to kind of put that aside just for a moment and think about three things I'm grateful for. So that is before I even get up. And then I like to go and brush my teeth, and I like to start with the lemon water. I just like, that's just kind of part of my ritual for a very long time. And then I like to meditate. So I'm a big fan, just like you, Tanya, of Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I often do a guided meditation by him, but sometimes I'm also trained in meditation. So I have a mantra. So sometimes I do that. And sometimes I just do, a few minutes in silence. So it depends on what I feel like. But most of the mornings, I would say, is Dr. Joe Dispenza's morning meditation. And then I like to get out. So sometimes I do my morning pages before I get out. But because it's really, we're in the summer now in Australia, and the sun gets up really early. So I like to get out as quick as I possibly can, because the morning is just so beautiful outside. So I like to go for a walk. And my walk is often starting with silence, so nothing in my ears, just walking in nature. I like to get away from the hustle or bustle of everything, and I just go into nature. And that could be something, ocean can be, it can be bush, it could be whatever I feel like, or a combination of both. I'm very lucky where I am, we have the combination of both. And then when I get back, I like to do my journaling morning pages, which is basically, it's based on Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. But basically what I do is I empty my head 3 pages, and I really, it's been part for many, many years of my life, and it's something that comes very natural to me. So I just empty my head on paper. I actually then throw those papers away, and I have my normal journal next to it to kind of get my insights and things I want to save. And then the highlight of the morning is my coffee. And I've changed a little bit now because my son now drives himself to school. He has a driving license, so I no
Oh.
longer drive him, which means that he comes. So I have around 8 o'clock when my daughter's gone to school. It's just me up or in the house, except Axel, but he's upstairs still. So 8 o'clock, I have 5 minutes of silence with my coffee, no book, no journal, nothing. And that is one of the highlights of the day. It seems so simple, but it makes such a difference of actually just having time to think. And at the moment, I'm sitting outside doing that. And then my son comes down to go to school, and we sit and talk about his business for about 20 minutes. And that's also a highlight. And then after that, it seems like such a long morning, but I get up early, and my kids are quite independent now. So I have the privilege to do all this. Then I kind of like to read 10 pages or learn something depending on what I'm currently focusing on. So that's my morning ritual. But again, it's a ritual that I tried, and almost every year I add something or try something different. So it's not always the same, but this is my ideal one.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Christina. And I know how you inspired so many of us through your courses that we are attending with you is through your Dream Life trainings. And yeah, you really do everything what you also say, you know, and this is so authentic when you share it, because the gratitude as well as the journaling and the walking in nature are so important elements, actually.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember how you continuously repeated that to us, and we all embraced it. And I'm doing pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's so good. And I think,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if you can create a morning ritual that you really look forward to and you really enjoy, and that's why it's so important, because my morning ritual might sound super boring to some of the people who are listening. So it's really important that you find something that you are excited about getting out of bed for and create your own ritual. Because then if you have something really amazing in the morning, your day might not go to plan. You might have a day that didn't turn out as good as you might have planned or thought, but at least you had a really great start. And I think that's all we can ask for, because there's a lot of things we can't control. But most of us depend, not if you have really young kids, perhaps not, but most of us can actually get up a little bit earlier than anyone else and actually have that. So yeah, I love it so much.
Yes, yes. And you're so right about saying that the emphasis is really to create a morning ritual that suits your needs and that makes you feel excited about getting up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can I ask you, at what time do you usually get up in the morning? Just as a curiosity
Yeah,
for me.
so my ideal is 5, but saying that, I am not a great sleeper. So if I do not sleep well, I do not get up that. Then I rarely set my alarm unless I need to be at the airport. I kind of see, but because I often wake up. So even if I do have a late night, which is very rare, but then if I do, I still wake up really early. But I'm not like, it doesn't have to be 5:01 or whatever. It could be around that time. And again, if I had a really big week, be traveling, I might sometimes do my meditation and my journaling in bed and then go for a walk. So I change depending on how I feel, but that's kind of my ideal time, because that means that I am doing my meditation and everything and my walk, and I'm back to 7 o'clock, because that's when Tiffany is up and before she goes to school. So then I help with breakfast and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my ideal at the moment. But I change it if I'm jet lagged, or if I'm tired, or if I had a big week traveling, I might choose to do it in a bit of a different order and a little bit later. But most, even when I travel, I do this, but not always that timing, depending on what I've got on.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And it depends on the seasons as well, isn't it? Whether you
exactly.
have summer or winter time, it can be
Exactly.
a huge difference as well.
Yeah, for sure. And especially
Yeah,
if I'm in Sweden, it's much harder in winter to get up earlier, because it's pitch black for so long.
exactly, exactly.
But I'm not there very often. So,
Yeah.
and here in Australia, even though we do have seasons and winter, it's nothing like what we are used to Switzerland and Sweden.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yes, so we are in 2026. Finally, it's here. We have been working quite a bit last year at the final weeks towards it. And I always feel like, I don't know about you, but I always feel like the 1st of January is such like a special day.
Yeah,
How is that for
absolutely.
you?
Yeah, I love it. I my because I've been in retail for so long, build up to December and to Christmas always been really hard work and lots going on. So for me, between Christmas and New Year is always my favorite time to kind of slow down, reflect on the year, and then start thinking about the new year. And then that time before New Year is like the thinking time, and then where by the time I start the new year, I am kind of ready. I've got my top three ready to go. Sometimes they changed because I plan out the year in January, so that could actually change a little bit. But I, because it's what I do for a living, it's very much in my mind for a long time leading up to it. So I just love a new year, a new fresh year. And as you know, I like to plan out the year in January properly, and then I like to plan quarterly. Almost like every quarter is like a new year for me, even though it's not the same kind of feeling. But even if we plan out the year, sometimes we have a quarter that goes a little bit pear-shaped, or we might have some challenges, or there might be some things that's come up in a positive way that kind of took our intention for something else away. So I like to kind of relook at everything each quarter, because then you can always start again and fresh. But just nothing like a new fresh start like we are right now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
If you could describe the energy in one word for 2026, how would that sound for you?
Oh, I've been thinking about this for so long, and I need to lock in now. But I actually think that I'm choosing between two. And so I'm going to share two, just because some of our listeners might be able to resonate with this. So I choose a word of the year every year, and it's often about what I want to kind of have more of in my life. And one thing that I want to have more of in 2026 is responsibility. Responsibility of me doing all the things that are important. I'm the typical entrepreneur that gets super excited about so many things, and I often spread myself thin. And I really enjoy that, because I feel like I'm very capable to do multiple things. But there are certain things where, as I was looking back on 2025, that I got a little bit frustrated with, that I didn't do, or the team, as a team, we didn't deliver. So I want to have that responsibility for me, but also for our team, to kind of take certain aspect of that. So that's what I think I'm going to go with. But I also have another one, which is content creator. So I am at the age of not loving social media. Like we just had in December, we had the ban of social media for under 16. So I've been thinking a lot about that. That I think we actually should all should all have that. But it's an incredible tool for us entrepreneurs to use, and I think for me to kind of really make the most of these incredible tools that we have through social media is to think as content creators. So I have that word in mind as well, because then the thing that I do is I capture everything when I travel, I capture when I speak, I capture the coffees, my journey, I capture it all, but I'm not always following through to actually sharing it. And it's because I actually don't want to be on social media. So I am thinking of that's going to be my energy. So I will choose between the two. And even though I'm more likely to choose responsibility, because that will make me follow through as a content creator, perhaps. So I'm still, as I'm planning the year now in January, I'm going to lock it in and then work out how that's going to be flowing through my year.
Yeah, and actually, it sounds like you could even like blend the two of them
Yeah.
at some point in time, because if you focus on responsibility, it may well be that actually this flows over into creating
Yeah.
content as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I like to, so I've done so many, like the word of the year for 2025 was strong.
Mhm.
And there were certain aspects I did that really well. And I felt like I actually could continue with that word for the year. But then I thought, no, I want to do something different. And then I thought about all the things that didn't quite work out. And then I thought, what could I have done differently for that? And then I thought, actually, I just need to take responsibility to follow through on certain things. And then I think that's actually going to help me, um,
Mm.
get to that next level. Because
And
I had, sorry to interrupt. I had a very big team in my other
mm,
business, and there are so many things that I don't know, and so many things that I just don't have time for. And it's not my strength, because I'm a big thinker versus and I'm not great at admin or those kind of things. Although I love those kind of things, but it's not really what I should spend my time on. So that word responsibility doesn't mean that everything falls to me. It's also about giving responsibility to the team and all those kind of things. So it's an interesting word that I never ever had on my list of words for the year before. So I got really quite curious on what that could actually involve. So for anyone listening, it's really great to have a few words that comes to mind. You can ask what Tanya just asked me, what kind of energy do you want to have? And then think about what comes to mind. And then you can choose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think brainstorming on that, and not just like what you just said about responsibility, to also think about like, okay, one is responsibility that I would take, and I'm being in charge of, but the other one is also on how to empower others with some additional responsibility, which can be actually quite inspiring,
Yeah.
to see others grow as well around you. So you surround yourself with people that actually resonate so much with what you do in that moment,
Yeah, for
isn't
sure. For
it?
sure.
Yeah, what a beautiful energy,
Yeah.
actually.
Have you
That's
thought of
amazing.
yours yet?
Yeah, I'm thinking about, I was actually torn between focus and then I came at something else came up in a meditation, and I'm leaning now towards that. It will be thrive.
Yeah, yeah,
To
fantastic.
thrive. I just feel this incredible flow of energy within me. And it's almost like I can't resist, like I can't do anything about it, it's just there.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. And I think this is the beauty of actually tuning in to ourselves, what comes to mind. And yeah, thrive is a great. I've had that a few years ago. It's a really good word because then I feel like the more you're conscious of thriving, the more you will thrive. Like it's just like that snowball effect of whatever word you're choosing. And thrive is a beautiful one. And I think also because of 2025 was a bit challenging for a lot of us. And, every year has its challenges. But I think after that energy now going into thriving, it will be amazing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
how do you reconnect? Because we often hear about like, choosing your word of the year, and then it might be that you actually write it down somewhere. Some people just think of it. And then over the time, I feel like some people don't even remember what the word
Yeah.
was. So I was wondering, how do you stay connected with your words? And what do you do to actually um, really live with that word?
Yeah, so I like to the way I do it, and I like to re-look at my word every quarter because we can absolutely change if it doesn't feel because often I feel like if we choose a new word, we're not really sure how we're
Mhm.
gonna live and breathe that. So I think reflecting on it each quarter is a really good thing. But the way I do it is like I look at my top three. So as you know, I like to dream really big and then choose three things that I'm going to focus on. And I always focus on more than that, but that's kind of my top three that I want to make sure that they always stay on mine. And then I take that word, so that will be responsibility. And how would I apply responsibility or that word into my top three? And as a journaling person, I like to journal about it and think about it. And I also use it in my meditations. And when I go for a walk, I often think about, what does that word of the year mean to what I'm doing right now. So you can do that in every aspect
Mhm.
of your business. And I like to kind of journaling about everything that I kind of think about. So that's a really good way of doing it. And then of course you can go much deeper and think about what are some of the habits that needs to be established this year for you to live it. So for example, last year my word of the year was strong, and for me that wasn't just physically, that was mentally. It was strong in business, being a strong speaker, being a really strong parent, all those kind of things. And strong not just in like really hard, but also being really mentally strong and present. That's what that word meant to me. But there was a couple of things that I felt like I could have done a little bit better on certain things. So now I'm looking at what didn't work last year, and then making sure that my new word is kind of incorporated in the areas that didn't go as well as some of the others. But I feel like I have that every single year. We cannot thrive in every part of our life
Mhm.
all the time. And when we do have some challenges, it's always good to see how can I then incorporate this word into the challenges, into what I'm kind of facing right now. So, and also remembering it is to kind of have it on your vision board, in your journal, on your phone, and really living and breathing it. And I think, in our coaching program, as you know, we every quarter we we replan, and then it's a good, really great way of looking at, am I actually living and breathing the word of the year?
And I think what was so helpful, what you did, Kristina, with us in 2025 was I remember we did the revisiting of one of the quarters, and I felt that it was so challenging to stay focused. So my word in 2025 was focus, but then there were so many things thrown into my way that after the first quarter, I lost that connection with that word. And you made us really reflect upon it, whether this is still the right word or not that we had
Yeah,
chosen at the beginning of the year. And I changed it to compassion.
yeah,
And compassion worked then so much better for me, and I really needed it.
yeah.
So I think for those listening, it's also really important to know that you can change your word. You
For
don't
sure,
have to stick
absolutely.
to
You can
it.
change your dreams and goals and habits anytime.
Yeah.
And, and you want to change it because it doesn't feel aligned anymore. You don't want to change it because you haven't achieved it yet. If
Mhm.
you still want it, it's worth, working around that. But if it doesn't feel right, it was for you, it was the perfect change. It was a really good example on how you can have something and then later on, actually, I don't, that's not what I need right now. And you can also, even, like, there's no, I don't know who came up with the word of the year, and it's something I just incorporated many years ago into my life. So I don't know if that was an intention, but the way I look at it is like, you can even have like if you, for example, want to do like a sprint for a week or a month or a quarter, you can then take a new word that is making a difference to that kind of sprint. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. I just think it's great to be curious about how you can actually, really live and breathe it, because you choose a word that really is meaningful to you. That's the ideal. Otherwise, there's no point doing it.
Yes, absolutely. You are so right about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, Today, some people wake up on the 1st of January feeling really like excited and can't wait for the year to come, right? Like you and me. But there are also maybe listeners here that wake up feeling exhausted or
Yeah.
feeling anxious even about the year to come because they might have some goals that are maybe overwhelming to them or what would your advice be for those that start off in a different way?
Yeah. So ideally, depending on what the challenge is, because there will be so many different ways of looking at that. But the way I like to do that is to kind of put your normal life aside for a day or for an hour if you can't take a day. And that really think, and then kind of forget about your everyday life and start dreaming, and really think about, if you could create a life that you love and create a life that you just cannot wait to live, what would that be? And most people might not know that unless you are like you and me, who does this kind of work all the time. And a really good way of getting that started is to ask yourself a few questions. And one would be, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? So many of us are scared of failing or worried about what other people. Some people might be on a path that are not their path. It could be influenced by parents or teachers or community. It might be that that person is yeah, making the money for the family, supporting the family. It could be so many different reasons why you are not on the right path, you don't have to change overnight. You can just do a little bit of a time asking yourself, if I could do anything in my life, what would I actually do, even if you have no idea how to make it happen. And then ask yourself, because so many of us don't dream big enough because we might not have the skills, the resources, money, or time. And then ask yourself, if I had all the skills, resources, money, and time to do whatever I want in my life, what would I actually do? And a really good question that really works well for a lot of people is, if you if you didn't have to work for money and you just needed still to go to work but do something you love, what comes to mind for you? And there could be lots and lots of different things that comes to mind that might not match, but just write it all down and then ask yourself, if you work out with energy and health every day, and that might not be the case for everyone either, but if you work up just feeling really excited of getting up and do what you choose to do, what would that be? And start writing it down, and it might take a little while until you get used to it. I could link actually to a free audio, Tanya, to your
Oh,
listeners,
that would be
that yeah,
amazing.
that where they can actually do a free, and just it's just me guiding with lots and lots of questions. Those 5 questions are in there for sure, or 4, whatever I said, but so many more, and you can dream per area as well. And if you do that, you then start thinking about your possibilities. And even though you might not be able to change it, perhaps this year or overnight, definitely not, then you can at least start thinking, well, if I can choose 3, which ones would I choose? And for anyone who are waking up not feeling excited, it's often, I think, mental health, physical health will be, something I would definitely focus on. And then have a dream of something you really want to do one day, because that's something to be excited about. And we often fix our health mentally or physically by having something to look forward to and
Mm.
something we're excited about. And I really truly believe life is, even if we do get to live a long life, I think life is short and we should all do what we love. And it doesn't mean that every day is perfect or
Mm.
great, or we definitely have our challenges. We definitely wake up not feeling great every morning, but you want to get to a place where you're actually excited about what you do. And I've worked on that for a very long time, and I just feel enormous great gratitude to what I
Mm.
get to do. And it did not happen overnight. And I created a business that I loved, and then I lost it all, and that was really hard. And then I started again, and that again didn't happen overnight. But it's really absolutely possible to create your dream life over time. So I would just start with dreaming, and then you can say, well, there are 3 things I'm going to focus on this year, and then you just start really small. So you dream really big, but you start really small.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's so helpful to hear that, because we often hear people saying, yeah, but there is like, dependencies for me. I'm fully employed, so I don't have really like the freedom to
Yeah.
decide or to dream or to create my dream life,
Yeah.
because I'm a mom or a dad of smaller kids as well. I can't even do the morning ritual and
Yeah.
anything like that. So I feel that, there is something in for everyone, even if you are in an environment where maybe a lot of is constricted or feels constricted because
Yeah.
it's organized by others as well. But you are
Yeah.
so right. And who tells you that there is limitation in your mind, right? I mean, your mind is free to think whatever you want and to dream.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's so many of us doing that, depending on our upbringing or the people around us. And so there's so many reasons for that, but you actually can change that. And that's why it's so exciting to um, to work on ourselves. And the more we work on ourselves, the more we understand the possibilities of what's potentially possible for us. And again, nothing overnight, but we can all work on it a little bit each day, and eventually we'll get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. Um, I was wondering, for those that might actually have started or waken up today to this new year and still feel that there is something remaining from 2025, that could be maybe a little bit heavy from last year, because we all had our challenges. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether you do something specifically in the old year, maybe you've done it already to get like rid of that energy, or maybe is there something that you do on the 1st of January to get completely free and ready for the new year to come?
Yeah, so the things that when I get rid of things, it's really through my morning pages. So I've spent a lot of time kind of really thinking about what I don't want. And in November every year in my coaching program, but also everything that I that I create in the coaching program is actually things that I do myself. So November for me is always around getting a new kind of upgrading my mindset. So every year I just feel like there's certain things that I need to get better at in terms of the way I think and the way I behave and the way I talk. So I work a lot of that. So a lot of that will actually be worked on for quite a long time, and also through my journaling. And then in December we spent a lot of time thinking about our future 2026 self, and that's really about, what do we love about our life, and what are the things that we want to change, and then you kind of look at that, and then by the time we come to today is what I normally be like, now I'm just going to plan it all out, and then I'm ready. But of course the plan is never going to 100% plan, but it's as much as I possibly can. What do I need to do, who do I need to become, and what are the habits, and every month I try to choose a new habit that will support my dream life. And as you know, we did that last year. There was like 12 habits that I incorporate, and the interesting thing is that you don't have to do new habits all the time. It might be that a certain month you need more meditation, or you might have got out of journaling if you've been journaling in the past and you think, gosh, I really miss it, and then you can do focus on that. It could be that exercise needs to level up, or you might got a bit, if you're in cold climate, you might have had, a month indoor, for example, and when spring comes, you might be ready to change. So you can change that, and focus on one new habit every month. But I like to learn from the past, but I
Mhm.
don't dwell on the past. And I think that's something that we can all learn, depending on, obviously, if you have something really traumatic, you might need some extra support psychology
Mhm.
wise. But if it's things that, you made some mistakes and you learn from it and hopefully never do them again, depending on what they are, then I don't like to bring that into the new year, because I I have so big dreams that I don't have time to dwell on the past. And it might sound funny, but it's really how it is. I don't really have a lot of time to get involved with a lot of drama, because I am so busy creating my own dream life. And if we all were like that, then we'll all get closer to our dream life. And I also think that when we create our dream life, we have better energy, we're more excited. It's a ripple effect of people around you that hopefully also then wants to create their dream life, and then you can support them, and then they have a ripple effect. So hopefully by all focusing on our own dream life, we create a better world.
Yeah, yeah, and you are really, really right about that. I think the morning pages could be a really great tool for many
Mm.
those that are listening right now that maybe feel that they carried something from last year into this year, and to get your head around, just write it out and just
Yeah,
juggle it out from your body, from your heart. And I think acceptance can help as well, to accept the fact that these things happened.
yeah,
And I like the way how you described it, to really learn from it. There is an energy there of transformation, that you take it, yes, it happened, what happened, and now to transform it into something that is even bigger, stronger, more beautiful, that carries the right energy into the new year.
yeah, absolutely.
How
Yeah,
great is that?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
For
And I think
those,
also if everyone actually incorporate morning pages to every day, you deal with all the things that are coming up all the time. And I think that's really, I started doing morning pages 25 years ago, so it's a long time. And there's definitely been stages in my life where I did it less or didn't do it for periods of time. But now it's definitely part of my everyday. It's sometimes if I don't have time to do the 3 pages, I'm fine, absolutely fine with that. but almost every day I feel like I need, it's part of my, it's part of how I live now, and it's just so helpful. And I started it when I just started my first business, kikki.K, because I felt that I was overwhelmed with all the learnings, the speed of growth. I needed to, I needed to think on paper, and it became kind of part of who I was. And I often say to people who ask me how I can cope with it all, and it's the journaling that really helps me, and that's why I'm so passionate about and selling journals, because I use them and I love them, and it's been such a useful tool. So for anyone who is listening, that could be a really great habit to start now in January, and just do 3 pages in an A5 size, so it's not A4, so it's not massive. And then and even if you just start with a sentence a day and then build up, that's absolutely fine as well. There's no right or wrong way of doing it either. It's just whatever suits you.
Yeah. I'm on day 1048 today, by the way. I've been numbering them since I started, since we read the book about the morning pages with
Yeah,
Julia
yeah,
Cameron, by
yeah.
Julia Cameron. Yeah, exactly. So it has been tremendously helpful and
Yeah,
really, yeah, so transforming,
yeah,
so transformative.
yeah.
Really, really great.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, for those bursting with ideas, it can also sometimes create some chaos in my head. And then I would just like, I feel this incredible bubbly energy, but I don't know where to start, and I feel quite overwhelmed actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Any
yeah.
thoughts around
I can
that on
relate.
how to help people like
Yeah,
myself?
so I am one of those. So I've got a lot of practice on this one, and I also think that that is part of being you. So I don't want to. I think it's amazing to have lots of ideas, and it's amazing to be creative, and so I never really want to kind of destroy that about me. It's often the team who gets frustrated if you work with a team, or maybe your family or friends that always new ideas. But I really love it. So I don't want to take it away. But what I've learned though is that I I know now that I can do anything that I put my mind to. I just cannot do it all at once. And I have had so many different ways of dealing with this. And I'm never ever perfect. So if anyone listening feeling exactly like a ideas person and get really excited about things, and get in a bit of a chaotic era, I think there's nothing wrong. It's just really, really then decide, what are you going to focus on? Because what I've learned over the years is that if you have too many things at once, you just don't get anything done. And that's why I always encourage people to focus on 3 dreams for the year. And of course you can add as many as you like, because we have a lot of ambitious people in the program. And some people be like, oh, only 3. And I'm like, if you have 3 really big one, that is going to be enough. And sometimes, if specifically if someone is starting their own business, I'm often saying maybe just one, or maybe one that is focusing on your health, so you're kind of keeping it up. But I actually think that less is more. But saying that, the most important thing is to really know what you're going to focus on for the year. And if you make them happen quicker, you can just add. So you can just say, I'm going to have 3, but then as soon as I do it, I'm going to add another one. So, but the key is not to have like 8 things all at once, because I've done that, and I still do that sometimes because I get excited. And then you just do a little bit of each thing, and then you don't actually move the needle. So in my experience, 3 is great. And then you can obviously have lots of small little things that you can kind of have that you can do on the weekends or whatever. But top 3, I think, has been really, really, really good. And then what I like to do when it comes to overwhelm is to often just empty my head. So every quarter we do a session in the Dream Life coaching program, but I do this in my own life more than once a quarter, and that is from overwhelm to clarity in 1 hour. So basically, I just set the alarm for an hour, and I put my phone away so I don't get distracted, and then I just take A4 papers and I just write lots of my categories. So I think about my podcast, I think about my program, I think about my um, speaking, I think about all the things I want to do at home with my family, the trips, all those kind of things. And then I just empty my head around those categories. That works so well for me. And it's often we're not getting overwhelmed with all the things that we're doing. It's often what goes around in our head. That's my experience anyway. It's often not like now I'm running from one thing all the time physically. It's often mentally that makes us feel overwhelmed or chaotic. And just doing that exercise has been so helpful for me. And one that I do as soon as it's often a Saturday morning for me to
Mm.
do that one because often on the weekend I'm like, oh, that week was big. I wonder if I got it all done. I wonder if there's some things that I left behind. And then that exercise is really, really, really useful.
Yes, you're right. I was actually just thinking while I heard you talking that maybe I should do this more often because
Yeah.
I usually wait for you to guide us through the session. But since we have that beautiful recording, I should just go back and do it on a weekly basis,
Yeah.
maybe. I think that would be really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Or even on a monthly to start off,
I
because
think
then
so
you
too.
get like the focus for the month and you feel so much lighter. Each time I feel so much lighter after doing
Yeah.
that exercise,
And I
and I
think
really have clarity in my mind.
yeah, because when if you do it monthly or when you need it, like I actually don't
Mm.
plan that. I often because I reflect a lot in the morning pages, I often feel like actually I need, and it's often sometimes when I feel like my physical environment might be a bit cluttered, if I've been traveling and then I'm going straight to something else. Like it's often a lot of things that I know I just need to put it all on paper and then say, hey, what do I need to focus on? And it just feels so good. So if you do these monthly, then you can look at that paper and then work deeper on each kind of category in your morning pages. So you don't have to do it weekly, but it's also it's one that is really handy when you feel overwhelmed. The only thing is though, if you do it too often, it becomes almost like a procrastination tool. So you don't want to do it. So you kind of redoing. I've done that myself, and then I was like, actually, it's not useful. So there's a bit of a fine line to when you do it monthly. I think will be really good, and then perhaps look at them weekly and look at all the stuff that you emptied because when you see it all on paper in categories, so much easier. And those categories is the way I work, the way yeah, everything that I organize in paper and in my software, it's all the same categories. So it's the way I think. And
Yes,
I will feel the same after doing it. I've done it for many years now, so it's kind of natural for me. But for anyone listening, eventually, and you already have those categories in your life, it's just sometimes you don't think that way.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And how do you sustain yourself then over that critical period of time when studies indicate where gym subscriptions are usually super high in January, and then by March, people don't show up at the gym anymore. So how do you sustain yourself over that critical time when many of us would actually start to leave that road of focus and determination?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is where it comes back to this kind of reflection piece and planning every quarter. There's certainly quarters where I don't do as much exercise or as much walking and things that I perhaps wanted to, but that's often a reason for that. It might be too much travel, it might be I've been unwell, and so I think that that quarterly focus is really helpful for that. But also when we set New Year's resolutions, and this is a very typical thing today, that we get really excited about day one. And the thing with New Year's resolution is that we often want to do something new. And when we do something new, we cannot do the same things that we've done in the past. So, if a lot of people wants to get fit up, a lot of people want to lose weight or completely change their career or get another kind of turnover in their business. There could be lots of different things, obviously. And then you really then need to decide, what do I need to do to make that happen? So if you want to get fitter, like you just have to change. Like you can't, like if you want to get fit, you have to exercise or whatever you choose to do in that. If you want to lose weight, there will have to be some changes that will be different for all of us. So we need to identify, what we want to do. But I think the most important part of the whole thing about setting I don't set new year's resolution because I'm really focused on my top three, and then I think about what are the habits around those top three that I need to go deeper on or add or maybe even remove. So for example, in 2025 I decided to take alcohol completely out of my life. I didn't really drink a lot in 2024, but I thought because I was so focusing on my business, I just did not want to have one day. Sleep and alcohol for me is not great, and I'm not a good sleeper anyway. So I decided that's one thing I'm going to have to change because I didn't want to get to the end of 2025 and thinking I actually could have done more if I slept better, and I could have slept better if I didn't have a glass of wine at night or whatever. So I decided to completely change that. That is not an easy thing to do. And it kind of took me almost like a year to kind of get used to not getting excited about a glass of, because I love wine, and when you travel a lot, it's always easy to say, well, I'm at the airport, my flight is delayed, I might have dinner and a glass of wine. It took me a long time to rewire that. And that is for all of us. When we have new things that we want to do, we cannot do the same thing that we've done. And change is difficult. So you need to start really, really small. And then the most important thing is to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? So for me, I wanted to keep my team in my business because I love the people I work with. I want to have financial freedom. I don't want to have a lot of money, but I want to have enough money to travel and do all the things. And that I just kept thinking about that. So I write, why am I doing this document to almost everything that I want to change, even if it's a small habit. So I kept reading this. Why am I not drinking alcohol this year, to remind myself? Because often when we have habits and our friends have the same habits, it's so easy to forget. So if you read that, why am I doing this morning and night, you eventually will not forget it. So that's a recommendation, to get really clear what you want, focus on three things at any given time, and then look at what, instead of setting New Year's resolutions, what are the habits that you want to what you need to have around those, and then say, well, I'm going to start with this, and then write down, why am I doing this? And then eventually you will change. Your whole life will change, but not overnight. I think that's what most of us want. We want to change overnight, and change takes time, and change, it's definitely not easy. And that's why I think being
Mm,
around like-minded people, like, for us in the coaching program, we all have different dreams, different things that we are working on, but the one common thing that we have is that we all want to create a life that we love, our dream life. And if you're around other people who wants that, that is so inspiring. And it's also really inspiring to see when people are going through a challenging time, because you can see what are they doing to change it, how are they coping with it, how can I take that on to my own life. And being around like-minded people is so important. And then of course accountability is another thing that is really, really helpful as well. We have that the last Monday of every month, looking at what am I going to do for the next 3 months, and actually sharing that out loud. And even if that person that you do that with is not following up on you, in the end, it's up to you to be accountable. But it's so much easier when you say it out loud to another person. And then, of course, writing it down so you can always follow through and always know what you're focusing on. Because in today's world, it's so easy to get distracted. And, I always think about the how much time we spend on our devices. And imagine if we took that away and worked on our top three instead, what we can achieve. It's exciting.
yeah. Yes, and actually it's quite scary if you look at your screen time sometimes and do a little checkup, right? To see like how much time did I spend, and then you see like, wow.
Yeah.
Christina, you had so many golden nuggets just in what you just said now. And ask your permission to get back to one thing that you said at the very beginning. When you align with your goals, how does someone know? Like, how do you know that you are fully aligned with a goal that really matters to you and is not influenced by social expectations, by a parent, by your employer, by your partner, by your children, maybe? Because I think that that is sometimes truly hard to do that because you might have something in your mind that is really close to your heart, but then you abide to like the social expectations around you. There is a really fine line, and it's scary, and it takes courage to do that. How do you overcome? What would be your advice?
Yeah, so I think this is where it comes in to kind of really spend some time alone and doing the exercises.
Mm,
What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? Because when you do that a few times, there is without doubt some things in within us that we have that we get excited about, and even I another really good thing is like sometimes when people feel envy, I never really feel envy because when I see someone who's doing what I want to do, I'm like, oh, I'm going to learn from that person. I'm going to study that person. I'm going to ask questions. Or if it's someone you don't know and they're on social media and you feel, oh, I wish I had their life, I'd be like, what are they doing? How can I incorporate some of that in my life, in my own way? So I think just spending that time to really think about, from your heart and not from your head, like if you couldn't fail and if you could create a life, like if you could start again, what
mhm,
kind of life would you do? So you may know, Tanya, that I've been sharing probably for years now that I wanted to live in Sydney.
mhm,
I came to Melbourne 30 years ago. My partner's from Melbourne. My kids were born in Melbourne, and Paul had family and friends, and I had that as well. And I always felt this kind of draw to Sydney. I grew up in Sweden and it was cold. You can relate to this. And I when I came to Australia, I was like, why would we live in the coldest part? Well, maybe Tasmania's a bit colder, but I was like, I love Sydney and it's my lifestyle. I spend so much time in Sydney. My best friend lives in Sydney and I do a lot of work in Sydney. And every time I come back, I was like, I tried so many ways for my family to move to Sydney, and they're like, nah. The kids didn't want to because they were on, they were really into their sport and obviously into their friends and their schools, and they couldn't even imagine starting again anywhere else. And Paul, who's been living in Melbourne his whole life, it's a very hard thing to imagine. And I just kept other ways. Like I used to take photos of all the amazing thing in Sydney. My son Axel is very much into cricket, so I was like taking photos of the cricket grounds. I looked at schools, and I did all the things, and still every time I came home, I had like a Sydney campaign, and no one wanted to move. So so I did that for years, and I was like, I was not in a hurry. I was like, one day I want to live in Sydney, and then I thought, and I really wanted to leave. I really wanted to move my family. So my friends kept saying, you can live there, and even Paul said, we can live there when the kids are older. I said, yeah, but I actually want my kids to be where I am, even though there's no guarantee that they will be living in the same city, but at least it's more likely if you grow up there. So I just kept going and kept going, and I was like, oh, it just felt so. And we had lots of discussions, and the kids, I remember, 'cause Tiffany was crying, saying, I don't want to live in Sydney. And Paul was like, oh my God, every time you come home, it's such a, oh, we were like, oh no, here she goes again. Anyway, 2024, I decided to give it up in terms of not giving it up, but I'm just going to put it on hold.
mm,
We signed a lease for a house for a couple of years, and I thought I'm just going to leave it for a couple of years. So the reason for sharing this is because we actually now live in Sydney. We've been living here for a year, and we'd moved in the beginning of January 2025, so exactly a year ago. And sometimes you can try and you can work on it. And then sometimes if it doesn't happen or if you can't make it work, it's sometimes good to just kind of, and I think you use that word in 2025, surrender. You just let it go for a while. And that's exactly what I did. Not giving up, thinking actually it's not going to work now. And the kids were coming up to high school, and I was thinking it's actually distracting now to kind of keep this going. So I thought we're just going to wait. And then things just started to happen. And to make a very long story short, Axel got invited to play cricket up here, and we then moved. And I have to say that 2025, there was not one morning that I didn't pinch myself. I was like, I cannot believe this happened. I worked so hard for this. And all my friends said, you know you manifested this. And I said, yeah, not in the way that I wanted to manifest it, but it happened. And the first half year of 2025 was really hard. Tiffany was really homesick, and I just wasn't sure if this was the right choice for the family, definitely for Axel. And now we are all loving it. And sometimes it does not happen the way we want it to happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen the way we plan. We can do as much as we possibly can, and then we just have to trust that things will fall into place eventually. And that's what happened to me. And so many things, when I look back, it's like, actually, you dream big, you do whatever you can to take action, and then sometimes, it doesn't happen the way we perhaps thought. But if you don't give up on it, eventually it will happen. And
Mm.
not easy, but also really exciting. I always see my challenges as a blessing, because you can't just have good things happen all the time. You cannot just, you need, the positives comes with negatives, the negatives comes with positives. And if you can see life like that, then there's always something positive in a negative, and vice versa in the negative. Um, there's always something negative and a positive as well. So if you can live with that balance and that acceptance that life is never going to be just absolutely perfect, because we're aging, sometimes we get sick, sometimes we lose a person in our life. Like this, life is not perfect, but we can do what we can into our best ability to make the most of it and enjoy the ups and downs. And the ride with the ups and downs has its own frustrations, but also then when we do well, we like when we move. When we drove up to Sydney, I drove with Tiffany. I just said to her, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this, and I love it, and I'm very grateful. I'm not
That's
sure
so
if I
good.
am. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
You did more than that, actually. I'm trying to absorb all what you just shared. And I think something that you mentioned that was so beautiful just now is that when you have these big dreams, you mentioned about that you paused it, you didn't give it up, even
Yeah,
though you had tried for so many years to bring your family and everyone now to Sydney. And when it just didn't happen with all the attempts that you had, you actually decided to pause it. And
yeah.
I think that's a huge difference between pause and giving up.
Exactly, exactly.
That's
And
a huge difference.
sometimes when you pause it, you might realize, I tried it in a different way, or it's like growing a business. Sometimes it just doesn't work the way you think. And it took me, when I lost my first business and started again, it took me a long time to work out. I now have my coaching program, but that took a few years to develop and work out how I was going to do it, because it was something new and something that I didn't really know how I was going to do it. And then I've added things, and every year I review it and thinking, what can I change? What can I add? What's not working? What's the feedback? And then I look at all that, and then I, renew it, to my best ability at the time. And I think if we can all do that in terms of improving our businesses, improving our careers, improving our relationships, all the things that we are doing, then you never really know. And I always say, when I wrote down a few dreams when I came to Australia as a 22-year-old, I could never ever have imagined all the incredible things that I got to do. Like I could never have dreamt that big.
Mhm.
So I always say to people, dream as big as you possibly can, because it's probably not big enough anyway, because we are often limited by how we're grown up, or the people around us. So dream big, start
Mhm.
small, start small.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure when you have such a big dream and you come to the realization that it might actually not happen and it might not happen now. And that's the reality check that we all have. And that's life. That's just
Yeah.
very normal that dreams don't just happen all the time, right? So what do you feel helped you the most to come to the point where you said like, and let's pause it for now? Like what is like what are the top three tips that you would give to your listeners now that they can, embrace that if they come to that conclusion?
Yeah, I think it's more about like you give everything you got to
Mhm.
make it happen. But you know, it depends on because it was three other people involved in this big dream. I think most of us, unless it's a family thing like traveling the world and moving a city, that is like involves everyone. Starting a business, changing careers, travel even can be done without the acceptance of other people. So, for example, if you are, maybe let's just say that you are a lawyer and you work really hard, you might be the person who are making the money for the family, but your dream is to become an author. Maybe it's a children's book author, or maybe it's something creative that is not related to law. And so even though you cannot change that overnight because you might be the one who's feeding the family and putting a roof over their heads, but you can certainly crave out some time for you to pursue that dream, even if that's like half an hour on the weekend or maybe an hour. John Grisham, which is one of the most successful authors of all times, he started by he actually was, I think, quite, I don't know his story 100%, but I think he was quite happy being a lawyer, but he was really affected by a case that he was part of as a lawyer. So he wanted to kind of process that, and he started writing about it. And he got into, so he had also young children, which is also a time where there's not a lot of space, mentally, physically, and you are focusing on other things. But he went to work maybe half an hour earlier or an hour earlier and wrote, and that became the first book. I don't think was a bestseller, but it then became, he's written so many big bestsellers. So unless it is like moving or traveling with the whole family, that is a more difficult one. Versus the other ones can be as difficult, but you can actually do it yourself, like changing career, starting a business. You can still start a side hustle. You don't have to give up your full-time work. And it's one thing that I actually don't recommend, because I think then it becomes another pressure, which is the financial pressure. I started my first business, kikki.K, and I worked in the morning and I worked at night, and then I worked all day on my business until I had enough money to pay rent and eat, and then I gave that up. So there's so many things that you are actually often you put that obstacle in your own mind. Even if it's, your partner might not agree with your dream, starting a new business or changing career, but at the end of the day it's up to you. And if you are the breadwinner, you could still doing that until you then, change that over. So I think a lot of us are more in that category, versus a lot of people don't want to move to the other side of the world, or make everyone go on a boat for a year, for example.
Mhm.
Most people actually have individual dreams that they can do regardless if their partner, parents, teachers, society expect different from them. That's what I've seen mostly in the coaching program. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's so great to hear that, because that's a reality check again,
Yeah.
right? And so what I feel as well is like, yes, I have my dreams and everything. And then what I realized is that there is change involved in it.
Yeah.
Change that requests for me to change certain things, actually, the way how even I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
That's
because,
the hardest part, because
and
we're
that's the hardest part, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
so what
we're
has
also very addicted to our feelings. So and it's like we often get a bit of a dopamine hit by thinking the same way, or get like it's yeah, changing our thinking is the hardest part for sure. And it doesn't happen overnight. It requires a lot of rewiring in our brain, and it's not an easy thing to do.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, what would be your advice to those that are actually thinking about this dream and then start to realize, oh wow, to actually start working towards that dream, I might actually need to change certain things in my life. And it's not only the change that happens with them, but also change that is being affecting maybe others in the family as well. Because
Mhm.
if you start working towards your dream, and let's say you wake up half an hour early in the morning or whatever, it could actually create some change around how the morning goes to prepare your kids for
Yeah.
school or to prepare yourself to school or how the evening ritual goes, right? So it could affect other members in the team as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and I think so for anyone who has that challenge, so I've seen that quite a bit, and that
mm,
is to really inspire your family, children, and your partner to dream as well. So making sure that everyone is working on their dream life, because it's so much easier if I know what my kids and my partner's dreams, I can then support that, and we can support each other. So I think that's really helpful, and then I also think that if you want to get up earlier, well, half an hour, that will affect you because you will want to go to bed a little bit earlier. That certainly was the case for me, but that meant that I was much happier. So often when we work on ourselves, like on our dreams, our goals, it could be health, it could be that you want to go to the gym in the morning, like all those kind of things that makes you excited about creating in your life, then that becomes a ripple effect in terms of you might have better energy, more, happier. So I think sometimes change is difficult for other people around you, but if you do what you love doing and what's important to you, you will then have this energy that will be much better versus being trapped in things that you don't no longer want to
mm,
do. And of course, there's a million ways of of options here in terms of, so every situation would be different, but I do think that if we're focusing on our dream life and a life that we really love, we're much happier, we much have better
mm,
energy, and we're more likely to want to help with other people. So I think it's just something that needs a few conversations and say it's really important to me. What it's important to, can I help you, getting to your dreams or your habits that you want to change? And then it could be a really great, co-working thing that we do together as a couple or as a family, or as a business as well.
yes, and it's so great that you mentioned that. I think communication is key,
Yeah.
especially with the people surrounding you, within the family, but also with friends and with the team at work. And to get them into the same boat is so, so much key. And I
Yeah.
was thinking while you were just mentioning that, I was thinking, how beautiful would it be to do like a little dream exercise as a family even
Yeah, for
because
sure.
children are very much in tune with their
Oh,
dreams and
absolutely.
they know very well how
What
they
they want.
want to feel and what they would like to do in life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And even,
that would be
so for
so nice.
example, during COVID, where we couldn't travel, I
Yeah.
remember, so we used to travel as a family a lot before that, and
Mm,
then we couldn't. So I did a dreaming session with the family and said, when we can travel, we can't travel now, but when we can travel, where do we want to go? And there was
mm,
no limits. There was no, it's like, "Oh, we can't do it next year," or whatever. It was like, there's no dates and there's no cost. Like, this is just what we want,
mm,
and we just talked about that as a family. And we talked about, do we want to live somewhere overseas? Do we want to, you guys have done that really well. We used to do that before COVID. And that was another thing where I was like, we're probably not going to live overseas during these high school times, but we can definitely live interstate. So Sydney kept coming up for me. So it's like you can dream as a family. It's really something that I highly recommend. Even if you don't have the same dream, you can all individually work on different dreams. So it's definitely something really fun to do.
Yes, yes. And you have done that so well with your children, and you inspire us each and every Monday, actually, on how to live that really truthfully.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so,
Yeah.
so beautiful. Thank you so, so much, Kristina. Before we wrap up for today, two more questions.
Mhm.
One would be like, if you have a day for yourself, completely to yourself, how would you spend that day?
Oh, I love that. That's like my favorite question. And you know, my biggest challenge would actually be there would be so many things that I would want to do. But I think right now, I would actually just have a day where I have nowhere to go and nowhere to be. And I would just wake up and decide on the day. So, you know, that freedom and I don't have a lot of that because I love planning and, I often know what I want to be doing. But there is something really beautiful about waking up and have no plans. And all I would like to require from that day is to have a pen and a journal. No devices, no plans, no people. For me, that just gives me so much space to think about my life. And but you know, this is very typical me wanting to work on myself and personal development, but I would just be dreaming, thinking about, you know, how if I get, my dream is to become 120, so how many years is that if I get to live that long, if I'm lucky? What does that mean? What are all the dreams in different kind of decades? That is kind of my favorite day.
Oh, so beautiful. And I have goosebumps all over. Oh, it makes me feel like going now with a journal and a pen and just do
Uh,
it.
it's amazing. And you know, I think so many people are, if a day like that comes up, they
Mm,
waste so much time looking at that device. So it's really important to remove that and not having a part of you. And that's actually how I came up. So I wrote my book, Your Dream Lab Starts Here. I think it's 2016. I can't remember quite the year, but that came up because I went away with my journal and a pen for a couple of days
oh,
because I just
wow.
felt like I needed some creative
Mm,
thoughts in my head, and I had nothing when I left, and I came back with that idea, and then I wrote that book. So and that was a big thing. But you can go away and just thinking, actually, I want to eat less sugar, I want to drink less, or I want to start yoga. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't have to be like a massive thing. It could just be whatever comes to mind for you.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. This sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for our listeners listening, one final thought or something for them to take away for into 2026. What
Mm.
what would you like to share with them?
Yeah, so I like
Words
to
of
share
wisdom.
that before we know it, it will be 1st of January 2027. And even though sometimes the days feels really long and there are weeks that feels really long, a year goes so quick. And then the next year will go, and the next year will go. And before we know it, we will get to the end of our life. And if we are lucky to reflect on our life when we get to the end of it, we are likely not being we will likely not be regretting the things we did wrong, the things, stupid things we said, or the things that didn't go to plan, the mistakes, the maybe sometimes the stupid mistakes that we made. I think the biggest regret is not going for our dreams, and I just don't want anyone listening to this being one of them. So this year is your year. And yes, there will be some obstacle, there will be some opinions, but there's only one person that can make your dream life happen in 2026, and that is you. Not your
Oh,
partner, not your wife, not your kids or your business or your boss. It's you. And and of course, intellectually we all know that. But when we take that responsibility, then, anything is possible. And enjoy it and take action every day. Big dreams never happens in big leaps. It happens in daily small actions. And once we get that action and that momentum, we achieve big things, and that's really exciting and so fun. And lucky us, if you're listening to this, you're very likely to be in a country where you have the freedom and the resources in terms of, if you have a phone and if you have a pen and a journal, you can probably make most of the things happening and access to internet. And if you can do that, anything is possible.
Thank you so, so much for sharing this, Kristina. You really touched my heart, and I have goosebumps all over. It makes me almost cry with joy. I have tears welling up here. No, thank you so, so much for all what you do. You are such an incredible source of inspiration, and you made me actually start loving Mondays. I never loved Mondays, but you made me, and I'm printing a shirt. I always wanted to have that shirt that you were wearing. Sometimes you wear it. I love Mondays.
Yeah.
So
I should have worn that today.
I made a point that I really want to actually have such a shirt as well.
Yeah. No, thank you. And thank you, Tanya, for your support and what you're doing to the world. And that the people that you are affecting is equally as impressive. So thank you for being part of the community. I love your energy. I love how you always contribute and inspiring other people. And you are truly living your dream life, which is such an inspiration. So thank you for inviting me to your incredible podcast and for being part of my life.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristina. Can't wait for next Monday.
Yes, can't wait either. Thank you.
Wow, I don't know about you, but the time was just flying. I didn't look at the watch. And actually, I started to realize, oh my gosh, there would be so many more topics. I could go on and go on and go on with Kristina, but time was just flying. So I hope you had lots of those golden nuggets in there for you, wherever you sit and wherever you are on your journey, whatever you are actually manifesting, visualizing for 2026. The energy is there. Take it and do something with it, because it's in your hand in which direction this will be taking you. And as Kristina rightly pointed out, it doesn't matter where you are. The importance is just start. So it's all about progression and not perfection. That's what she keeps telling us. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with us today. Have a wonderful week and see you next week. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fertility Counselor podcast. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. If you need support or have any questions, reach out to us via email at inquiries@counselingconnects.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Fertility Connects. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to learn more about us and the services we offer, head to www.fertilityconnects.com. And if you're looking for support beyond fertility, visit www.counselingconnects.com. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.